Actually, I would love to start by saying that you're the person that calls me out for apologizing too much. And it had this effect on me. You know that when people say, I think it's called a frequency illusion. It's when someone mentions a red car and then all of a sudden you see a red car
Oh,
everywhere.
okay.
Well, you pointed out to me that apparently I was very apologetic all the time. And this was in a work setting because we worked at
Mm-hmm.
the same place at one point. And I then realized how much I did it. And I didn't realize until then. And no one
Do
had
you
called me
recall,
out on it either until then.
do you recall what I said or what you thought or how it made you feel back then?
Um, well, firstly, it I guess shocked me for starters, right? Because I didn't realize that I was doing it so much for someone else to realize that I was doing it to like call
Okay.
me out, right?
Okay.
So there was that. And then I thought, okay, how does it actually manifest? How does she recognize that I do this too much? And I wouldn't say that it made me feel bad about it. I would say it made me feel very conscious about it, not self-conscious, but
Right.
conscious. I
Mm-hmm.
then started noticing it more thereafter, and I
Mm-hmm.
tried to stop myself every time
Right.
because then it was at the forefront of my mind because you called me out on it. So I was like, oh, okay. Am I apologizing? How am I writing this email? How am I conducting myself in this conversation? Am I saying sorry too much?
Right.
But I thought it was a very interesting thing to call me out on. I was like, at that point, I'm sure that I must have been very apologetic and said sorry almost every day, and no one ever made a comment. So I didn't take it in a bad way. It
Well,
made me
I asked
very
you that
cautious.
because I, the way I learned it, right? It then became my little personal mission to alert all women that would hear it. So that's why I'm asking you, like, how did it make you? Because it never dawned on me how it may have made the other person feel when I brought it up, that
Mm,
kind of thing. I just know it was like, for me, it was like, whoa, I do this. I mean, it's been so many years now, that kind of thing. But it was like, whoa, I do this. It's like almost every, I'm apologizing for things that are not my fault. Why am I doing this? It was a newsletter I read, and it was calling out that type of thing, and especially women for doing it, obviously, because I've yet to find that men do that. There are some out there, but it's mainly a woman thing that we feel. And I guess it's part of our nurturing thing too, that we take so much more responsibility for things that are not
that's a
um,
good point.
our stuff to be responsible for. Like I think, and don't quote me on this one, but I think there was like a stat about how married men live longer, that kind of thing. And it's more because woman's taking care of them, or you have someone pointing out those things. Like, it, and you'll find out usually when it comes to things like a woman is going to notice a new scar on the child more. Maybe she's doing more of the bathing, that kind of stuff, and looking for those things. Like you'll probably notice even at home, like, you're noticing things on the wall and the curtains that your husband would not. It
Just notice
it
some
just
paint cracking.
would not notice that at all, type of thing. And you're like, how do you not see this giant hole? Like this, that kind of thing. So I think some of that is because we're so keyed in to all these little things, which, so it has its good parts, but it's also where men will go, y'all need to slow down. Just make a big deal out of all these little things. So if we're focused on all those little things and we make them more personal than we have to, but then by that same token, we then feel responsible to then apologize for anything related to, oh my God, I'm cold. Oh, I'm sorry. Like control of the weather, the
That's a
temperature.
really good point. That's a really good point. Is women inherently, and this is a general statement because it's not everybody, but we tend to take on the nurturer, the project manager role, if you will, from in all aspects, even if that's
Hmm.
not really your role. So whether
Right.
you really have that title at work or not, some way, somehow you find yourself being that glue. Right? Some
Hmm.
people might say it's the glue that keeps everything together, right? Or even at home.
And it's also
And
why we'll volunteer too quickly to add more to it. Oh, I'll do that. I can't do that.
yeah,
I can do that.
do
So, but
you
go ahead.
take on this? Uh, I wouldn't even say anyone gave us that role. We could just take on sometimes that role.
Yeah.
And then you do feel, to echo what you said, you do feel responsible for everything,
Hmm.
either working or not working. So when something is not working at work and it's still not your responsibility, but for some reason, you take it on as if it's your own responsibility, you do find um, this heightened desire to apologize as if you let them down, even though
Right.
there's other players involved. So even at home, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're cold.
Right. Like we become the hostess of every situation.
Yes.
It's like, so we just said like when someone had enjoyed their lunch, you know, oh, we're sitting together and you go, oh, I'm sorry. Like, why? I didn't make your lunch for you. I
Yeah.
didn't bring your lunch. We just decided to sit and eat together. That's it. You know. So I've heard where some people say things like, well, oh, I hate that for you. I like that for some situations, but not others because it sounds a little not condescending, but it doesn't sound empathetic, that phrase. I hate that for you
Mm.
type of thing. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So that's not one I'm comfortable with. Um uh
You touched on something though,
uh,
being empathetic, because I do
mm,
think that that's another virtue that a woman wants to possess. And that's a
mhm,
virtue that has been instilled in us from a
mhm,
very early age to be demure, to be empathetic, to be nurturing. And one of the ways that you think that you are empathizing with another person is by saying sorry, as if like,
mm,
I'm sorry that you're going through this, or
right,
you're just overly apologetic all the time, as if that is a
right.
way to showcase some femininity or some empathizing with the other.
Empathy, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering because some of the stuff we're saying, it's not necessarily wrong to say I'm sorry, right? To say I'm sorry you're going through that, like when we say I'm sorry for the loss, for your loss and things like that. But I think what happens is we put in these other I'm sorries that don't apply. So then we just have a world of I'm sorries, So then, like, are you even heard at that point?
Mm.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of people I know that, like they start almost seems to start every sentence with "I'm sorry." That's the start of,
It's
I'm
be
sorry. Can I do this? I'm sorry. Can I put that here? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was like, oh, can I? I'm sorry. Can I put that here? You go, no, that's not a good spot. Oh, I'm sorry. I put like, whoa, with the whoa.
it's become a filler phrase,
Yes,
and its
yes,
overuse. Yes, it's all about context. It is all
and
about context.
so the overuse is it's the that's when it's become habitual. It's
Mm.
just bad speech in a way. Um, I don't know why we've become comfortable with that one. You have people that are I know or you think or ums or whatever like that. But that apology one, that I'm sorry, not an apology, but the I'm sorry is just a really bad speech habit, I think, more so than anything else. Mhm.
Right. The me saying I'm sorry and being overtly apologetic seemingly puts the other person in control, or it makes them appear to be more in control than you are.
Well,
Maybe that is the effect that you're going for. Like, go
think
go
about
easy on me. I'm so
think about
sorry.
think about the person, the extreme person that you may know that is saying I'm sorry all the time, right? They're mousy, right? I don't
Yes.
care what
I already thought
they're
of the
mouth,
person.
and it's not. So it becomes not so much the words, the attitude. You don't want to stop it. It's more they're the shrinking that they're doing and the mousiness and the little, you no, that's not you. I remember someone who was pretty big girl, you know, and but she would apologize and she was, and it looked weird because you're not a little person, but you're doing these mousy little things every time you're saying I'm sorry, and it's like don't stop saying I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then I'm sorry. She was driving herself crazy, but I think by now, I don't know if she's ever stopped, but I'm sure there are times she says it less because it was really driving her nuts.
I've noticed that I've become less tolerant of it from other people the older I get as well. And it is because of that same mousy
Yeah.
behavior. It
Mhm.
when you know
There's
someone
something.
for a long time, you really that's come on,
Yeah.
stop it. It almost feels like an act. And I'm not saying that they mean it as an
Okay.
act, but it comes off as an act. It's like
Okay.
we're realizing that there's nothing to be sorry for here, right? I mean,
Right. So what
adults.
are we doing?
So what are we doing? Why are you apologizing at every chance that you get? This does not need to be
Right.
your opening line
Hmm.
at all. You didn't do anything offensive. It- it's I can take something a certain way, you could deliver it a certain way, and we could move past it. This is not a thing that has to happen. And that's where I feel like at times it comes off as an act, this
Hmm.
mousy act to kind of
It
shift the
could
power
be.
dynamics as if like go easy on me because I'm
Okay.
sorry. I
That
apologize. I don't
that
know any
very
better.
well could be for some people, as a way of not dealing or feeling like they're gonna or that they're gonna be blamed or be responsible for
Mm,
the outcome of things. Because I was thinking about that part. Uh, like what is it? It like for me, like it shows weakness to handle a situation. That's one of the notes I made for myself. That their inability to rectify, like you're not able to make a decision that would rectify this, right? And it comes off with this, well, sucks to be us mentality, right? There's nothing we can do about it. Oh, you're having a hard time. Doesn't that suck for us? Like we're all in the same boat together. It just is what it is. Like, no.
yeah. It makes it makes you appear less in control of yourself, how you
Mm-hmm.
manage situations, your time. And the older that we get, and I know I keep saying that, but it feels very much like those are lessons that you should have learned by now, right? You should have learned how to manage and handle yourself in certain situations that don't warrant you having to say I'm sorry so many times
Right.
or little or get mousy, as you called it, in certain situations. I feel very much that it for the person receiving the I'm sorries, when they have become aware that there is no need to say sorry in that moment, right? You've called me out on it. I am now become aware. So now I feel that I have called out other people in my life, other women.
I was gonna ask you if that does it carry on like
It
that
does
as we
carry on.
okay. It's
It does carry on because
mhm.
I've called out others for say don't apologize. I actually just did it to my cousin earlier today because it was her birthday. She apologized for not getting back to me and responding to my messages in a more timely manner. And I was like, girl, go celebrate. There is
Go
nothing to be
celebrate.
sorry about. You are
Hmm.
celebrating your birthday.
Right.
Wholeheartedly understand that.
Hmm.
Be present. I love that for you. Be present, celebrate, and then you get back to me whenever you get back
Hmm.
to me. And I don't feel hurt by it. Uh,
Hmm.